great to take this time and have an event where we can all be together and just, get away from regular life and just pamper ourselves. And that's basically what I'm going to be speaking about is work-life balance. I actually have this little sheet here that I had set out by all the bags, and there are pens in your bags too, so we're going to end up doing this, but I'll talk about a few things with the work-life balance first of all. So, how many of you really have mastered work-life balance in this room? Show of hands. The reason I love speaking about this is it's like I need to hear this myself. We do, as women, we do all things for everyone else, and we put ourselves last in a lot of areas, and how important it is to really just be mindful and take the time and really look at our lives and how we want to live them, and be able to, slow down enough to say, I want to be off that wheel, that hamster wheel, going around and round, going nowhere, and how do I make that happen? So today I want to talk about 6 tips for better work-life balance. I struggled for a lot of years with perfectionism, and that is one of being an overachiever. I always had to make sure that everything was perfect, and I was striving for that perfection. That is something that is not attainable, and being able to come to the point where I recognize it's okay not to be perfect. We aren't. It's not attainable. So striving for excellence versus perfection is so freeing when you can get to that point. And when you can be transparent and say, I don't have it all together. I need help in a lot of different areas of my life. And I think as women, we are everything to everybody, and we really backburner ourselves. And so it's really important to take a look at, where we are in that perfection and striving to do everything perfectly. Another area that's work-life balance is taking time to unplug. That is a huge thing with technology. And we are so used to just having our phones with us constantly, being able, even just to be able to sit down. I go to a restaurant and I observe a couple and they're sitting there just texting, not even engaging. I'll see families at a restaurant, they're not even talking to their kids. They're engaging. We're so into our technology that we don't take the time to really be relational. And I think about having that time away and really it takes a conscious effort to unplug and really be able to be mindful of that. If we all have to do business or whatever on our phones, but really being mindful of our time. We can just waste time, scrolling through Facebook and mindless things that are just not really feeding us in any way and not improving our lives in any way. So really taking that time to just break free from technology, going for a walk in the park and listening to the birds. We really lose sight of just the simplicity of life because we are so tied to our technology. Another thing that helps to keep a work-life balance is, what's your morning routine? Do you exercise? Do you meditate? Do you do prayer, devotions? What does your morning routine look like? And what does your evening routine look like? I have started to really be mindful at a set time, shutting my cell phone off. So I'm not laying in bed on my cell phone with the lights. I don't get a chance to decompress and have a good night's sleep. So really being mindful of that. Even in the morning, do we get up and go to our phones right away? Or do we take the time to, enjoy the birds? I have this great deck that I love to hear the birds and see the trees and the flowers all blossoming. And we lose sight of those daily simple things, getting ourselves back to nature. And what's really important, on our deathbeds, we're not going to wish that we were on Facebook. That's for sure. So taking that time to really, smell the roses. We limit our wasting of time. I went through a real series this past year of purging people. And that was a huge freeing for me. My dad used to always say it's better to have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. And how many people in my life that weren't supportive to me, that stole my energy, that were negative. Who's your tribe? Who's your women support system? All of you ladies here took the time today to come to be empowered and encouraged and lifted up. These are the women, these are your tribe. These are the ones that, in order for you to rise to a higher level in your life, you have to be around people that are doing exactly what you want to be doing. That was a big thing for me this past year to do. Really limit, I was away out of town for 2 months where I took a real break from work. I didn't totally not work, but I really scaled back my schedule, and it was amazing how much more energy I had, how much more clutter I got rid of in my head, how I've been able to, still have my friendships, but maybe just not so demanding. I think about my kids used to always be able to call me, and I was Johnny on the spot with my phone. And then if I didn't answer my phone right away, they would be calling me again. What do you mean, Mom? What do you mean you had your phone off for, an hour, you weren't reachable for an hour? But we teach people how to treat us. And if we're constantly everything to everybody, we're nothing to ourselves. I want to talk about even just having, some structure in your life. So many times we let distractions get in our way and keep us off course. If we have our morning routine where we want to get exercise and meditate, and how many times we let the distractions of life take us off course, and how important it is to pencil in your schedule. Even I have in my schedule date nights with my husband, and putting in exactly time blocking out self-care. Once a week, I'm going to do something for myself, and taking that time to refresh. We have to put our own masks on before, just like at the airplane, so that we can help others. And so many times we're everything to everyone else, and we serve a lot of people being women, but we need to take the time to ask for what we need. And how many times do we really ask for what we need? You can't pour from an empty cup. It's one of my favorite sayings. And being a friend to yourself. Would we talk, our self-talk, would we talk to our friends like we talk to ourselves? And just being aware and being mindful and really getting our mindsets in the right place to have a really good perspective. Boundaries is a big issue that I find a lot of women really struggle with. And boundaries are there to protect us. Being able to, set those healthy boundaries are for us. And we teach people that it's okay to have some boundaries. So those are a lot of the steps that I try to constantly be mindful, doing a lot of self-improvement, reading, listening to audios, because we all hear these things, and it's so easy to just leave this room and go back to the busyness of life. But what are we doing to help hold ourselves accountable? Do we have a friend that we can share with? This is my struggle. So many times we think that we're supposed to have it all together, and it's okay to say, I'm really struggling right now. In my life, I don't have work-life balance. I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, and it's okay. It's okay to really take that time and self-reflect. So in this wheel that we're going to do today, we have these different categories, and there's a pen in your bag. I want you to bring this out. What I love about this wheel, I try to do this quarterly, if at all possible, because this is the wheel of life, and if you are out of balance, just like any wheel that's going down the road that needs a line, it will wobble, you'll go off the road, you know, you're not in alignment. So taking this time today and self-reflecting on this, in this example, I want you to rate yourself on a 1 to 10 basis, where you are in each category. And when you do this, you are more mindful of where you are really strong and where you are weak. And go through each category and do that. And then when you do that, you're actually able to look at, okay, in the example, you know, if you're weak with friends and family, what do you need to do to get yourself up more to a 9 instead of being at a 2? Do you need to carve out where you're strong? If you're very strong in your health, and I'm not saying you give up your health, but taking the time out and carving the time for the areas that where you are weak, you will be able to get your life more on balance. I find that most women struggle with fun and leisure. Are we taking the time for the fun and leisure? Self-improvement. Do we work on that? No, we're everything to everyone else, but we really need, this is a great exercise to do, and do it quarterly, because you can easily drift back to your bad habits. And I know one of my clients, when she first started doing this exercise, she was working like 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And I said, we need to focus on not doing that. And what happened was she was so out of balance because she was trying to be everything to everyone. And she wasn't staying in her lane. A lot of times we do things that aren't our gifts or our talents. And like, I can do bookkeeping, but it's not my area of expertise. I would much rather pay a bookkeeper and coach a client. So we have a tendency to do all these things that we're not gifted and talented in, and that's taking away from that personal time that we could be doing for ourselves. So I just wanted to say this exercise will really help you to be able to be more mindful of where you're at. And I just want to encourage you ladies to, you know, get an accountability partner and really work through wherever areas that you're struggling. So thank you very much. Thank you, Pam.
Any questions for Laura before she leaves? Or any thoughts or comments? Anybody want to share anything? At each place setting is a thank you bag, and the speakers have been so kind that there's additional things that it didn't look like almost everything fits. So everybody should have one in place setting. And then if you didn't, you can get one. Let us know. And question.
I was just going to make a comment because you were talking. I read an article this morning, coincidentally, about how distracted we are with cell phones, and you can. We all witness people sitting together for a meal in a restaurant, 2 people and they're on their phones. And there's this young millennial group on TikTok or wherever they are, and they've decided to have 2 sets of cell phones. They have their smartphone, but when they go out and when they feel they're done with social media, they don't want to be distracted by that, they want to focus on their friends and the party or whatever it is, they all bought those little, what we call dumb phones, the flip phones that don't have any internet connection on it, they can't get to their social media site, so they take those with them just in case they have to call somebody. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, it is, and just
they're recognizing that.
a mindful activity. I know my sister-in-law, when we were over there for the last holiday, we have a pretty large family. She told all the, you know, millennials, I have a basket right at the front door. Everybody drops their cell phone when they walk in. When you take off your shoes, you put your phone in the basket. We are going to interact as a family. And it was wonderful. It was really, really enjoyable. So it's being mindful to take those, you know.
I could say along those same lines, if you're struggling with discontentment, social media really feeds into that discontentment. And so even your productivity you mentioned, you know, it's a time sucker. And so you notice you're not getting your projects done, or you're working more and doing less, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I've checked my phone like 85 times today, you know what I mean, or whatever. But really the discontentment piece is so important. Like, you know, my life kind of centers around mental health, and so recognizing what you're feeding yourself day in and day out, these unattainable standards, this perfection or this other life that doesn't look like yours, and it just, you don't intentionally grab onto it, but somewhere in there, it breeds this discontentment in your life. And so, you know, challenging ourselves to say, okay, I'm gonna limit my exposure to these things that don't speak life into me, you know, or don't align with my goals and my vision, you know, all those things. So just thinking about discontentment, that's all. Thank you for sharing as
Thank
well.
you, and I love what you said too, you know, I think about comparison, how much we compare, you know, on social media, our lives, we look at, you just see all, you know, the highlights of people, but then you start to think, you know, am I the only one that has struggles? You know, we all have struggles, we all have issues, and being able to say, you know what, we can be real with each other. There's nothing like being transparent and telling someone, hey, I'm struggling today. It makes us relatable. So thank you.
I'm an Asheville County Commissioner. I'm in my second term, so I'm in year 7 of being a county commissioner. But prior to that, I worked for 15 and a half years at Asheville County Children's Services. So my career has spanned over the course of 30 years in social services. I didn't wake up one day and be like, hey, I want to be a politician. That was not what I wanted to be. It was the farthest thing from my mind. I was a good voter. I did my due diligence, I looked up the candidates, and I voted. I didn't want to be a leader in the political realm. So as I was making decisions for children's lives and really just kind of doing my thing, I was the community service coordinator for children's services. In 2007, the opiate epidemic hit Asheville County as well as many other counties in the state at that time, and started branching out nationally. We were losing more families to drugs than we were to abuse. So we kind of had to take a different turn. I needed to refocus my training. My training then became very specific to heroin. That was the drug of choice along with methamphetamines. And so that became a focus for us. We were seeing more neglect cases than we were seeing abuse cases. So as the opiate epidemic took hold of the county, I just continued to work with our families on a very small basis because that's what I knew. That's where I worked. We had this little core that we were working with, these children that were being removed for neglect, reunified with these families. What I didn't know was that was really just the start of my journey. My story, however, starts on October 9th of 2013, when 13 heroin addicts kicked in my back doors and took everything I owned, everything. See, we had just built a house, so we had just moved in 3 months prior, and I, being that overachiever, that OCD, that trying to be that perfect woman, had labeled every single box with everything in it. So you could walk by and go, Grandma's sterling silver, got it. In the pickup truck it went. Everything was boxed, so when you steal things, it's very easy just to stack boxes in the back of a pickup truck because I made it convenient for them. They went through, there were women in my house, they took my coats, they took my purses, they took all my jewelry, there was nothing left. That day, I had almost stayed home, and that would have been probably a fatal choice for me, as the man who led the ring is now sitting in prison for murder charges. So, that is where my story begins, but it's far from the end. As I decided I would work the case because I had left my iPad at home that day, and it pinged at the location where the burglars had landed. And I was like, oh, hi. I know exactly where they're at. My iPad is there. Well, by this time, it was about 11 hours past the time of the burglary, which meant all my jewelry was already gone. The 21 weapons that my husband had were gone, had already been sold on the black market. Those were long gone. The boxes of stuff, who knew where they went. But the iPad was circling. So sheriff's department came down, and we literally watched my iPad run across the street, through the woods, back and forth. And I was on the phone, I'm like, listen, they're in the woods. I'm watching the iPad go back and forth on iCloud. I'm watching it. And they were like, okay, well, you know, sometimes we just can't get them. And I was like, okay. As time went on, they were picked up for more crimes. Some of my stuff surfaced. We got 5 of the guns back, and I got a purse back, and that was it. Everything else gone. Let me tell you, decluttering, that is the way to go. Have them come in, take it all, because you don't have to ever worry about it again. You're never looking for it. They took my pots and pans, my cake decorating stuff, everything. So I started to work the case and really became quite good friends with the detectives and realized that Ashtabula County had a much bigger problem. And that problem was that my story was not unique. What I thought was unique, going in and telling people, oh my God, my house was burglarized by drug addicts. That was not unique. That was happening all over our county and others. And I was like, well, what are we gonna do about that? There's nothing we can do, Catherine. Oh, you can't tell me that. I have far too much time on my hands, and I'm Italian, so we're just gonna do it. You can't tell me no. All right, well, we'll figure out a way. So I went to my local leadership, who, when you have community issues, you go to your local government. At least that's what I was taught. So I made an appointment with a local commissioner, and I sat down and I said, we have a problem. Our jail is overcrowded. It's licensed for 109. Today's population was 178. We have a drug problem. We're losing families. I'm offended that you think we are not keeping our community safe and healthy. You're offended, okay. I said, well, thank you for your time. I decided to end the conversation. I thought there is no point in continuing this conversation. So I left, and I decided at that moment something had to change. I was a leader. I wasn't a follower. I wanted change. I had been making change. I was changing families' lives forever by reunifying them with their children and making their lives easier and better by teaching them how to live in recovery and raise a family. I can do this for my community. So I was talking to a law enforcement officer, and sorry, I do pace when I talk. I was talking to a law enforcement officer on the way home one day. I'm sorry, Nick, I'll get back.
That's all right.
Okay, I'll stand.
I can follow you.
So I was talking to him, and he said, you know, we really need a change in leadership in the county. And I laughed and I said, I should run for county commissioner. And he goes, well, anybody could do that. Okay, challenge accepted. I'm gonna do this. Well, I decided to do that, so then I had to figure out how to do it. So I picked up the phone, I called the local party, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna run for commissioner. And they were like, you probably don't wanna do that. And I was like, oh no, I do. I do. I'm gonna bring our county back, and I'm gonna make them healthy, and I'm gonna get them back to work, and things, you know, this is what I wanna do. Yeah, we're not really sure about that. And I was like, I said, do I need you to be on the ballot? No. Okay, great. I'm gonna be on the ballot. So you can be with me or not. I was taught one thing by a gentleman in the political arena, and he says to me, if you can't work with them and they're not willing to work with you, work around them. Okay, so I did, I detoured. I was told I was a third tier candidate. I had no experience in political, and that I had no chance of ever winning a race. It was a waste of my time. I'm here today as a 7-year commissioner. By the way, the commissioner that I spoke to, I unseated her by 7 points. She had been in office for 12 years. I won my re-election in 20 by 17 points. So I make a difference. What I didn't realize is that what I thought was my story ending at leadership as an elected official and really just working that leadership role and bringing people together and really focusing on the epidemic and bringing the resources to the community. That wasn't the story. That's just a chapter. My story takes another turn on April 15th of 2018 when I got the phone call while I was at a fundraiser that no mother ever wants to receive. Your son has overdosed. Come to Speedway gas station. Speedway gas station. You know, can we just not pick a gas station that's on a main route where everybody in the world is gonna be passing by? Nope, we gotta do it right there. So I show up at the scene and they're like, do you wanna talk to him? It took 3 Narcans to get him back to life. I'm happy to say he's in full recovery, so. He is living his best life. However, 45 days after he overdosed, our son overdosed. So I was sitting at an opiate summit when I got that phone call from a nurse who I knew who said, please don't ever tell anybody I made this phone call, but your son has overdosed and is being transported to a treatment facility. About an hour later, I get another phone call. Can you pick up your grandchildren? They're going to be dropped off at Children's Services. Oh, I'm in Columbus. I'm 3.5 hours from home. Well, you have till 5 p.m. Oh, okay, well, it's 1. I might be a little late, but I'm on my way. Grabbed my stuff, checked out of the hotel, and Asheville bound I was. To pick up 3 little girls. This was 5.5 years ago. They were 1 year, they were 3, and 4. Now let me tell you, all my kids were raised and out of the house when they came to live with me. I was like, well, this won't be so bad. 3 little girls, how much trouble? How much trouble can this be? Well, let me tell you, at 50, you should not have babies, literally with the bottom. I was like, this is not right. This is not good. So I'm here to say today I'm 56. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and God bless her, a 6-year-old, who acts just like me. So, my son is still missing. His girlfriend is still missing. They are addicted to each other, so until that addiction ends, probably neither one of them will ever become clean. We pray for him every day. But that's not where that story ends either, because his story is still being played out. My focus is on the girls, but more importantly, my focus is how do we change the conversation? How do I lead us through the epidemic? So, in December of 2017, Asheville County was the first county in the state of Ohio to file suit against the pharmaceutical manufacturers of opiates. We then dropped our suit, joined the state suit when they filed in 2019. Since then, I was named the chair of the Ohio Recovery, One Ohio Recovery Foundation Board, which is the mechanism that will distribute 55% of the historic $808 million settlement that we won. So I will be responsible for putting back $450 million out of that, just that one lawsuit, back into our communities across Ohio to save Ohioan lives. So, story doesn't end there. It keeps taking a turn because as a chair, I can only do so much, and we were not moving quick enough. We are losing lives every day to the epidemic. And so the board asked if I would step down as chair and take on the interim executive director role. And I have an issue with saying no to people. So I said, sure, why not? Why not add that to my plate? So I was doing the job already. So now for the last 6 months, I've been the interim executive director. We've stood up the 501c3 that didn't exist when it was handed to me. Policies being written and everything in between. And we just got our first settlement payment of $54 million that we're hoping to see back into communities by the end of the year. but it doesn't stop there. So I also speak nationally, as Pam alluded to. And so I landed in Ohio on Sunday from North Carolina, and then I left immediately Tuesday morning. And I got home Thursday night, and I was laying in bed, and I was like, oh, it's Mother's Day weekend. Oh, that means the kids are gonna be piling in and out all weekend long, and I should be thankful, and I should be blessed that they're there. But really, what I was thinking is, oh, they could all just stay home with their wives and husbands and really just enjoy that time. And then I could enjoy my time. But that wasn't really gonna happen because I have 3 little people. So, who have made gifts for Nana for the weekend. So, and then I realized I was coming here. And so when I walked in today, I said to Pam, I said, oh, by the way, what am I talking about? Because this last week I've been talking about leadership and empowering women and inspiring them. And if you take nothing away from today, be inspired of the women that are around you that are doing great things. Be the one who changes the conversation. Don't ever speak or hide in fear. Fear doesn't exist. It's something we've created and manifested. And as long as that is there, women are never going to move forward. So it's so important to empower not only yourselves, but any women or young ladies that you have around that, talk to them, inspire them. Let them be the change. If they have an inspiration, let it grow, help them, grow that. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, what is it like to be a leader? And I said, what's really amazing as a leader I live in a man's dominated world of politicians, but for me, leadership is having a team that I can empower to carry out the vision of what we do. And that really, it's about empowering, not just our sisters, our children, but the people we work with, our staff, empowering them and having them have that skill set to be able to carry out your vision for the company that you work for, or just your life in general. I mean, my goal is to save lives. That has been my mission. I am a servant leader, which is different than just being a political leader or being a leadership instructor or any of the other types, a CEO. It's very different. When you're a servant leader, you are there to carry out the missions and empower people to do that. So please take that away today. Don't live in fear and empower those around you. And I hope you all have a blessed day. And Pam, thank you. Pam also, she forgets that she helped me through a situation. I had a stalker, or have a stalker. She still exists. And Pam got me through that. So this woman had taken to my granddaughters and decided she wanted to be me. And for all the late night conversations that we've had, it was great, and I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate it all.
I actually have the best job in the county, just putting it out there. Actually, my successor who was coming behind me said, I always thought you had the best job in the county. It's like, I do. I get to work with people who care about where they live and the people around them. So I don't have to deal with negativity most days. It is a nonprofit. Leadership Lake County is a tiny nonprofit. We have a fantastic board of directors. So all of that, and so many of you are alumni, and we love to have people immersed in the county, understand what the picture of the county looks like, understand what services do we have here. So in full disclosure, I will tell you all, the hardest thing I'm ever gonna say in my life is we found out this weekend my son has a severe alcohol problem and had to bring him in for recovery. So hearing you all in particular is more than I can tell you. I missed so many things this week because of that. And today I said, I have to be here. I need to be with my people, because I am a huge proponent of empowering women. So now that that is done, we're gonna do something more fun. People ask me, how do you know so many people? How do you remember names? How do you remember all this stuff about all the people you meet? Because I have a few thousand friends on LinkedIn and, you know, things like that. So people say, why do you network? How do you network? Well, there's two reasons you do it. And if anyone really wants to get into the science behind it, Robert Putnam has a book called Bowling Alone, and he talks about two things, bridging and bonding. So very often we walk into a room and I go, oh, I know Kim, I'm gonna come sit with Kim, this is gonna be great. That's a bonding moment. That is sociological superglue. It's holding us together. We look for what we have in common with people, and that really stabilizes us as a community. But what I really want to do is say, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name?
Molly.
I really want to come see Molly because I don't know anything about Molly. Molly and I apparently don't have the same hairstyles or clothing fashion taste. So I really want to come meet Molly because that's bridging. That's how I will grow my community, is to understand what makes Molly happy. What does she like to do? Because understanding Molly is going to help me build a better community. So we're going to be up and moving a little bit. There's some of these cards out.
I think everybody needs to move, this is good timing.
Yeah, we have two people here. I might have to open up the second deck. Right back here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Bring more cards here.
So I want you to buddy up with someone and talk about the question that's on that card in front of you.
How will you spend your next time at how will you spend your time at the next travel with somebody?
So how many more cards do I need back here? So buddy up with someone, if you need to do it, that's fine. Yes.
Whether that's leadership, whether that is, how to get through a stressful situation. And this diverse group of ladies, everybody in this group has a different kind of struggle. And there's some of us that have had more than one struggle, as like with you in life. And so the reason it's important is to hear people's different perspectives. And if there's a person, that speaks today that you connect, I know all these women are strong women, they're upcoming, very strong leaders, reach out to them. And it's so important to find a mentor, and just, keep that in mind. It's very important. And when people ask me if I have a mentor, my mentors are like Tony Robbins and Joel Osteen. But you know what? I've had somebody pick up and you get, well, those of you close to me know, and so I've had people write that I'm the next Tony Robbins. And that's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, because we don't have a female like that. But it's very important to surround yourself with strong women. And you know what? You might have more than one, but who said it? You, with the 4 quarters, right? But that's what you need. You need that strong, that strong core. And if there's any time that you see somebody, because in all situations we know, there's always a time, especially when they're setting a women, that there's one person by herself, or you can see somebody looking like this. I always try to say a prayer, and I don't know, this is how I've been even through high school and so on, is that the person that nobody talks to, for whatever reason, as a servant, that's my calling, I have to talk to them. And I don't do anything I do for points, but I have to plug Lake County all the time because we also are part of that settlement and did pretty good, as we know.
Sure did.
But it's just here in Lake County, we have more resources and we have a lot of nonprofits available with Leadership Lake County. I mean, Ashtabilla's up and coming now that we have you up there, but
we're working on it.
In Lake County,
Working on it.
I mean, we really just have so much to offer. And again, it's a potpourri of personalities, of hardships, And I just want you to find somebody, and maybe more than one, that you relate to, and take that nugget and hold on to it, and reach out to any of those ladies. And if you don't know how, I would think so, because everybody has tons of good stuff in their bags, or reach out to me and I can connect you. So let's take a few minutes, a break. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, the soaps that, I gave you are not, I did not make them. I'm just, listen, I have the sweatshop in the basement with all the crafting stuff.
All the
Soaps are
kids.
not it. I flew in and literally was home for 48 hours, sourced out to a local girl who hand makes these out of her home. She's an up and coming businesswoman. So there are that, and then some, we didn't have enough, so I stopped into, I was in Lake County yesterday. So I stopped into a Menor soap shop with another up and coming leader and woman in business and picked up some more. So all the soaps are locally sourced by women, who have started their own company. So.
Thank you. All right, let's take a few minutes. Thank you.